Well, hi, and welcome to our very first video. I'm Dave.
And I'm Tom. We're your very own Nerd Theorists.
Think of us as your personal curators of all things fantasy, sci-fi, Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop, and video games.
That's right. We love nothing more than talking about your favourite TV shows and games, creating theories about them, and coming up with hypothetical scenarios.
And to kick things off, we're going to talk about Babylon 5, because there's a brand new Babylon 5 series on the way from original creator Joe Michael Straczynski. And we couldn't be more excited, could we?
No. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to unravel, even though it's only just started production, is that right?
Yeah, he's just about finished the pilot. I think we're waiting on a production order to actually get things rolling, but, you know,
it's written.
Knowing what we know
It's
about
written,
him...
and it's ready to go.
Yeah, it's great. So we're gonna see something new, and it's gonna be different than we've seen before, which is fantastic.
Yeah, because on the official synopsis, it is, in fact, does say that, I mean, it says that everything you might think about Babylon 5, but it says that it's going to focus on John Sheridan, which is interesting, not Sinclair to start off with.
No, so we've already moved the plot on a bit there, something that maybe takes on from Series 2 of the original series. Oh, by the way, we will be talking full spoilers about the original Babylon 5. So
Yes.
If you've not watched it and you want to, you have been warned.
You should.
You will find everything out. Go and watch it and come back to us.
These, watch them.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it also says, not just John Sheridan, but he's going to be, there's going to be a kickoff of a war, which it's that iconic phrase of Babylon 5 being the last best hope for peace. But in the synopsis for the reboot, it says it's going to be the last best hope for the survival of the human race, which, yes, from what you were saying, it could well be, at the very least, maybe start from season 2 or season 3, as was the original Babylon 5. But to me, that seems more like maybe it's the Earth-Minbari War.
Oh, you see, that I didn't even occur to me. I never considered the Minbari to be a million years ahead of us. But
no, but this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, they could well be. I mean, if not, maybe in directly how long they've been spacefaring. I mean, they've said that they're going to be completely from the ground up reboot. So we can just chuck everything else we know about the old races, like Minbari and everything else, throw it out the window, and it's a complete remake, which.
Yeah.
It's even more exciting. I mean, even as a kind of a response to what a lot of people were saying, that JMS, as we refer to him as, it's so much easier just saying JMS. It is.
It is.
Yeah, he was saying that, yeah, I mean, he's kind of keeping what makes it a core Babylon 5 and just chucking it in the blender and bringing it out as fresh and new. Trying to keep it is enough so that old school fans can still enjoy it, but not seem like it's homework for people who have never seen original Babylon 5.
Yeah, exactly. Going the way of Battlestar Galactica and Westworld rather than trying to tread old ground again.
But on that same kind of note, like with he referenced Battlestar Galactica, like you say, but with that. The Battlestar Galactica, the ship itself, they kept what made it an iconically a Battlestar. You had your landing pods down the side, big engines, bridge at the front.
Batteries. It was an aircraft carrier in space.
Effectively, yes. But otherwise, the design of it was radically different. And I think we're going to see very much similar with Babylon 5 as well. It could completely visually change Babylon 5 as it appears.
Well, I think it's nearly 30 years old, Babylon 5 now, and it was visionary for its time. It was the first series to use CGI.
Yes.
And it was the first series to do that not only with the exterior but also with characters. And I think, despite all of that, it's showing its age a little bit now.
It is a bit. Even though they have, was it the 4K that they've released recently?
They've just done a beautiful 4K master, and it's gorgeous, and it's available to purchase on iTunes in the UK, I think, and HBO in America. It's worth a watch. It's really good. I've watched the first 3.5 series so far. I'm making my way through it slowly, but
even in 4K, it shows its age a little bit. But what means all the more reason to be excited for the new one. And I think people who were such massive fans of the old one, like you and I are, that we've got to not hold on to Babylon 5 as it was and not expect the same. Yes, we might hear similar names, but we can't think, oh, that's not how that character would act. No, we need to just ignore that. They're new characters. They're just going to maybe share a name.
Yeah, he's gone away. He's done a lot of shows since he did Babylon 5, and he says himself he's learned a lot more as a writer, and he wants to try and push that through into this show. If he was writing Babylon 5 again today, how could he tell the story? How could he make it relevant to today? And how could he predict the future? Because one thing he did very well back in the 90s was predict the world we live in today.
It's true. Very true. The old Babylon 5 to me was... I mean, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it was just very much based on Babylon 5. But I know it's supposed to be. It's on Babylon 5. That's just why I know it says it doesn't sound crazy.
Right. I mean, I'd expect nothing less from you.
But where I was taking that was the fact that you could say have a character that you follow maybe an episode or two, or for bits of an episode, which is purely on Earth or in the Earth Senate, for example. Because we didn't get to see a lot of on Earth. You get to see like the video.
Yeah, we didn't really get to see Earth. Let's be honest. What we saw was a CGI'd Earth dome and a set. We didn't see a single recognizable.
And that was it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was it. Or the office of some random senator. We didn't get to see a single recognizable Earth location until the Lost Tales, when they blew up an American city. It was just a made-up location on Earth, and it was great for the budget at the time. But I mean, they could do so much more, and it'd be so interesting to see.
Yeah, but this is it. I mean, they could, let's say, that follow a character in the Senate, or we could have more of that political intrigue as it happens there and then, rather than hearing about it third hand, as we did in old Babylon 5. Or with the Psychor, maybe have someone in Psychor and actually experience it, like Talia Winter's character, for example, who was very much loves the core, lives for the core, but then realises how much bad things it's doing over the course of time, as Talia did, but do it more from on Earth or travelling around the galaxy.
Or even Mars as well. It'd be great to see. I think, we can be confident that there'll be 2 plot lines, 3, let's be honest. There will be shadows. That's, there's no question.
Surely it must be a given.
There will be shadows. There will be, you would expect, the assassination of a Earth Alliance president. And there will be Psychor plot lines. There is his 3 main Earth and major galactic events.
Well, then also in later Babylon 5, you had corporate espionage, which only kind of hinted at, which I think, as the situation is in real life kind of modern society, is a bit more in the forefront of society now, especially with people like Musk wanting to go to Mars and such. I think he'll
exactly. I think you're going to find
look
a lot
at
more
as a big kind of focal point, like I say, with Mars and having the corporations run it, which very much as he did. But then
you'll get a lot more detail there, I think, and a lot more of a realized vision, because we've got this lovely basis now that we can work on. But so going back to your suggestion of following characters, if we can assume that we're going to have the assassination of President Santiago, or whatever said president will be, then you've got to assume there's going to be a plot that we follow along on Earth, rather than it just being news to the station.
This is exactly what I'm hoping.
Them all finding out about it remotely. Yeah, if we can follow it in parallel between the two, then that's going to be magnificent.
It would. Yes, definitely.
And similarly as well, the telepaths were involved there as well to a degree, so that helps with your Psychor plotline as well, and maybe brings in Mars as well. Like
Lionheart was suggesting that they were trying to get, they were trying to manipulate the Psychor ratings so they can assassinate someone from a distance and things like that. So obviously they were trying to. They could well be directly involved there as well.
Yeah. There's plenty there to pull together to give us something outside of the station. But I am very excited to see the station again.
Yes. Even as something new. Let's say, going back again to the Battlestar Galactica, you first saw it and you was like, it's different. But I kind of like it. But then...
You and I weren't sold initially, were we, on Battlestar's image? But,
image and the feel of it, especially during the pilot, it didn't feel like Battlestar during the pilot.
No, but by the end, we were quite happily sold.
Even just by first few episodes of the season proper, you were like, yeah, okay, it's Babylon 5 now. Not Babylon 5, sorry.
It's definitely not Babylon 5.
It's definitely not Babylon 5. It's definitely Galactica, and we love it for what it was. And by the end, we were weeping by the end. But anyway, yes, digressing.
Yeah, there's more Battlestar Galactica to come on the channel in the future, because obviously they are making a new Battlestar Galactica as well, so stay tuned. We will have Battlestar Galactica videos for you at some point as well.
But yeah, and it comes down to, I suppose, like I said about the look of Babylon 5, we can't expect the ships to be the same. Now, I know you've got the iconic ships, things like the Omega class destroyers,
Star Furies.
Can't imagine Star Furies changing a great deal.
I mean, because they were designed to work in space.
And they would.
They would work in space, and they just need to be in 4K beautiful resolution. I'll be happy with that. Yes, they can change anything they like if they keep the Star Furies the same. And the deployment system.
I mean, as far as Earth ships go, and I mean the more bigger ships rather than just Star Furies, that things like, let's say Omega class, the entire point of those was you got a spinning section, first Earth ships to have gravity. Yeah. Beyond that,
and even then, only in the spinny section. Everything else a little bit primitive.
Yeah, and beyond that feature, that you can change anything else about it. Absolutely anything.
Yeah.
So
but I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be all curvy, futuristic. You know, like the Star Trek movie reboot, where the Enterprise was all shiny white surfaces, curved edges, and I think it's not going to fit humanity that doesn't know how to make its own gravity. You're going to want it to look industrial.
Yes, absolutely.
You're going to want this chunk of a destroyer.
And I suppose the same goes for not just for any of the ship designs, really. You just throw those ship designs out the window and start from scratch. But assuming, and this is a big assumption, that your Minbari are working with Vorlons or a race, elder race.
Let's assume there are Vorlons at this point.
Yes, that's another big assumption right there. Then their ships, other than having that kind of organic feel to them, could be absolutely anything.
All they really need to do is one of those ships need to be able to destroy 15 Earth Force ships without breaking any form of a sweat. So
easily enough.
Yeah. And if we can see that, please, that would be lovely.
That would be fantastic. And from the sounds of things, probably will. Like I say, whether that's going to be going back to the Earth Minbari War, which to me, I would love that so much. Because, like I say, because this is just the pilot we're talking about. It's this, because I'm assuming that's the synopsis for just the pilot, not for the Babylon 5 reboot as a whole.
Well, I mean, and just going back to it very briefly, there are many bits in there. So, obviously, John Sheridan is suddenly assigned to Babylon 5. That smacks of season 2, if you go back to the original series. Babylon 5 is still a 5-mile-long space station in neutral space for your travelers, diplomats, hustlers, and wanderers, which is a much better way of saying it than they've done in their press release, because that's what the original series said. And then obviously his arrival triggering a destiny and a conflict. That's a lot to cram into one episode.
It depends how they're going to do the pilot, because, like I say, if they're doing a Galactica-style pilot that was like a mini-series in itself.
I will find the tweet for you for that one. He's already said he expects it to be an hour of network television with 6 ad breaks. So a 6-act pilot with up to 18 minutes of adverts across an hour.
An hour?
So it's a lot to cram in.
That is a
lot.
Well,
when we look at Battlestar Galactica, the series was an accidental byproduct of its own success.
Yeah.
They were commissioned to write their miniseries, and then Sci-Fi Channel went, "We'll have more, please. It's very nice."
And we are so glad they did.
And what I really appreciate about that is that the Galactica reboot could not have happened without the existence of the original Babylon 5. Because it was the original Babylon 5 that taught us that you can have a season-long arc and a 5-year arc, and it did not just have to reset the slate after every episode. And that was the very first show to do it, and it enabled every sci-fi and most other TV shows that followed to attempt the same thing. Once audiences knew that they could have essentially proper space opera. And yeah, the reason that Battlestar Galactica is what it was is because of Babylon 5, and it makes it full circle, and there's kind of a nice closing of the loop that Babylon 5 is coming back and wants to look to Battlestar Galactica for its push to be something new again.
Absolutely. Well, I say with it being Sheridan from the get-go. Now, there's no Sinclair. Well, no, it's not necessarily no Sinclair, but there's no hint of a Sinclair just yet.
No mention of Jeffrey Sinclair at all. So,
so whether that's going to be he comes in later or as from a different angle, perhaps.
Whether we introduce the Rangers through him or not, I don't know. It will be. It could allow us very much to tell some story through flashbacks as well. It could allow him to tell that story in parallel, and have a couple of dovetailing plots that have Sheridan and Sinclair on a path to meet. But for quite a while, the audience aren't going to know why.
I mean, I'd quite happily have an Earthbound Sinclair trying to headbutt his way through the Senate, trying to accomplish this.
Sinclair is a diplomat. That would be interesting.
Yeah, an ex-military come diplomat.
Yeah,
and he's trying to do what he feels is right in terms of being a diplomat, but he's constantly getting blocked by ambitious like senators or corporations or any number of things. Again, that's a great way it could have gone. But there's so many ways, and so many.
There's got to be. I mean, it'd be a great way of doing something new with the character. It'd be interesting whoever they get to cast in the role then, because obviously Michael O'Hare was fantastic and he's no longer with us, sadly, as are most of the main cast. But it would give them some real anchoring to that Earth storyline as well, especially because everyone who's watched the original show, like you and I, are going to assume that at some point he's going to have to face a destiny of his own.
Yes, absolutely. Again, as much as Sheridan's destiny was integral to the entire story arc of Babylon 5, so was Sheridan's. So was Sinclair's. Again, old. Yeah, so was Sinclair's. So
yeah.
But again, how do you kind of tie that in and recreate it? Or, well, then we'll just have to wait and see whether he does do that at all, or whether it just goes.
Well, this is it. We could have a full curveball. He could make Sheridan Valen.
He could, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's no. But we're assuming there's going to be a Valen, but I think that whole cycle of time is going to need some sort of. It's going to need to be addressed at least, because the best storylines they did, aside from the overarching Shadow War, Rise of the Younger Races plot, was the Babylon 4 storyline.
Yes, absolutely. Again, a Babylon 4 flashback. Again, would love to see.
Yeah.
There's so much we'd love to see.
It's entirely possible.
But then, like you said, he doesn't want it to be an episode by episode kind of remake.
Oh, no.
It's just
not at
completely
all.
thrown out the window. We can't expect anything whatsoever.
No, I think we'd look to Battlestar again for something like that. We'd consider how excited were you and I when Pegasus turned up?
Yes.
Yeah, because you knew it existed. You knew in the grand canon of the original one that Pegasus showed up and had its day, but the way they did it in the Battlestar was a fantastic twist. Absolutely glorious. And the way they used that ship for the brief half a season they had, it was glorious. And so, we expected it, but we never expected it. Oh, yes. Good point. Battlestar Galactica spoilers for the entirety of Battlestar Galactica. And for that matter, if you have watched a sci-fi show and you have not yet completed it, go away and complete it now, because loose cannons. We're very sorry.
We'll just talk, and it will just happen. Do apologize.
In this Babylon 5 video, you will know the identities of the final 5 Cylons before you know it.
Yes, it'll just happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so we're talking about old characters, but then what about old actors that are still with us, or as JM said, that half of the cast are sadly beyond the rim.
Stubbornly, I think he said, which I quite liked.
That's stubbornly
still on the rim, and that's glorious. I'm going to read this out direct from actually because it is important. How do you tell the continuing story of our original Londo without the original Veer or Jakar? How do you tell Sheridan's story without Delenn, or the story of Babylon 5 without Franklin or Garibaldi or Zack? And he's right. You
can't.
Because these are his characters, these are his stories, and he's a writer very similar to Aaron Sorkin of West Wing and Newsroom fame, who he writes everything. There's very few episodes he let other people write. He's going to write the whole thing, no matter how big it is. Where were we? I've lost my train of thought. Prior to this.
Sorry, yes, old actors. So it's like what we obviously would love to see some of the old actors come back. Obviously, they're now, like I say, it's been 30 years since Babylon 5. You can't expect them to come back to have the same roles as they had before. One thought that we had was maybe having Peter Jurassic, rather than being Londo, come back and be the Emperor.
Well, you'd expect he'd do a very good job as a stubborn old Centauri Emperor. Probably not a peace-seeking emperor, but one who wants to cling on to the old ways.
Yes.
I think he'd got that haughty look on his face. And he always had that upper lip.
He was so good at it. But yeah, and so with a lot of these kind of actors, I would love to have them, even if it's just a bit part, a one-off in one episode somewhere.
Yeah, just to show up.
Yeah.
So Londo works well as the Emperor of Minbar. No, he does not work well as the Emperor of Minbar. No, Londo works very well as the Centauri Emperor. Oh no, it's late and we're old. But in addition to Londo, I think it's been mentioned before that if he'd ever made a Babylon 5 movie in recent years, he'd have got Bruce Boxleitner, John Sheridan himself, back as the Earth Alliance president. And I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do that. Yeah, no, that'd be great, and you could blow him up at the end of the first or second series.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Santiago, not Clark.
No, he's not Clark. He's too much of a Boy Scout, isn't he, to coin a Superman phrase, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him being anything else. I mean, by all means, it could be. Throw a complete curveball at us, but...
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever seen anything he's done where he's not been good.
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's
very weird.
You know, just giving him a role with a bit of gravitas, drive the plot line along. And it'd be great to have him interacting with whoever is, for example, if our idea of having Jeffrey Sinclair on Earth as a politician, then you'd have the original John Sheridan working with the new Jeffrey Sinclair, and I think that'd be very good.
That would be good.
So, who else have we got? Main cast members who are still with us. Limited number, but Claudia Christian is a good one.
Yes. Now, see, as a bit of a curveball twist, I'd love her to have maybe a part in the cycle.
Oh, could you imagine her as a psycho?
I know. That'd be truly terrifying.
It would be, because, I mean, she's got the face anyway. She's got the don't fuck with Ivanova face. And we will, by the way, do a video on Susan Ivanova's withering one-liners at some point. Because there are many wonderful one-liners. But that's for the future. But again, it'd be one of those situations where fans like you and I would be screaming and saying, look, it's Susan Ivanova and she's a psychop.
You don't understand why it's important.
And everyone else would be like, she makes a really good villain. It's like, no, I know, but she's not supposed to.
You don't know. You weren't there.
You weren't there, man. You weren't there.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We've been friends too long.
No. That would be absolutely glorious. even if it was only a cameo role. But that said, I mean, if you wanted to have Bester be a woman, that'd
Walter.
be interesting.
Oh no, not Walter. Yeah, just the actual Bester, not Walter
The
Koenig.
character of Bester. If you were,
could.
Walter Koenig is not for a large role in this. Bless him, he's an old man now.
He is.
Let him have a rest and maybe walk past in the background somewhere.
I'd be happy with that. I really would.
Yeah. But if you were gonna have your very own Psychop Bester in this, you could do a lot worse than having Claudia Christian in the role.
Yeah, it would be good.
But then again, he also maybe he wants to bring back the character of Bester, because I can't imagine you're not gonna have a Bester. So maybe you want to find someone else who can play that role just as well as.
It'd be tricky. I mean, you can't find another Walter. You can't expect a like for like. He was so lovable and so much hatred for the character. You couldn't get that with anybody else. You just couldn't.
Magnificently conflicted character.
Yeah, you just every time he turned up, you're like, yay! Oh shit, something's happening. Like, oh damn. Yeah, I mean, to be able to find someone who could bring out all of those emotions is going to be so difficult. But then, like you said, it's going to be very difficult to be able to do the same again. Like, if it's going to have the same character done in the same way, which again is all an assumption, which we can just throw all these out the window.
Yeah, we can, but that's why we're here. We make these assumptions, and then we watch as one by one reality comes in and pushes them to the side and gives us something that's probably a bit better.
And I look forward to finding out his solutions.
Yes, indeed.
I really do.
Well, hopefully, we don't have to wait too long. Again, going back to JMS's tweets, follow him on Twitter, everybody, by the way. He engages with everyone. He's both wonderful and magnificently grumpy.
Yeah, he's very, very good at taking a lot of time to reply to people, but replying in a way that is not answering any of their questions.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, if you do tag him in a tweet, by all means he'll probably get back to you, but don't expect an answer. Or a straight answer, at least.
If you expect an answer, if you get an answer, it's not the one you wanted.
Like arguing with Delan.
Well, we're in a pretty good place, I think, to maybe take a pause with this and then come back next week with some thoughts on, say, who we might want to fill roles. A bit more about the visual side of things as well. Obviously, as we brushed upon it, but the original Babylon 5's tech looks dated. The ships don't look so dated. The graphics do. But, you know, the technology in the control room on Babylon 5 looks out of date now.
I mean,
so
the
how are they
screens were
going to...
clearly tube televisions.
Well, exactly. Yeah, there's a whole lot of CRT TVs going on there, and, you know, we've not had them for 20 years, really. But... yeah, what is, as much as what does he envisage the social and political aspects of our future down the line, what does he imagine technology would be like now in the mid 2200s? So I can't wait to find that out. And
is
obviously we'll talk about that some more. Well, this is another good question, actually. Yes, is it going to be? I can't see it being massively different.
I mean, mid-2200s is still a good distance away for it to be us to be spacefaring.
It's far enough from now, and it doesn't impact into the Star Trek timelines, which probably avoids, you know, some lawsuit somewhere. So that's always good. But yeah, there's so much for us to discuss, but I think it's probably a good point to leave it for now, and we will see you all again in the next video. In the meantime, don't forget, if you like this, drop us a like, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter. You can find us at Nerdy Theorists. We'll put that in the bottom below, and also obviously we want to know what you think. What do you think about the new show? Who do you think is going to get roles who used to be part of the cast? What do you think things will look like, and what do you think they're going to do with the plot? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll be sure to read through them all, and, you know, we'll bring up the most interesting ones in some of the future videos.
Take care.
Yeah, see you later, guys.